excited about this session. We're here to talk about how to make better decisions faster with data from connected cars. But before that, please allow me to introduce you to our extraordinary panel, a panel of experts from pretty much all the corners of Europe. I'm going to start with some brief introductions first. We're going to start with Eastern Europe. Tamara from Lager.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, she is program director. And then we have in Germany, next in order of east to west, Christian Schall, chief digital officer, among other titles, RDE radio.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Good to be here.
From Belgium, Lieutenant Benoit Louis, and then all the way from Ireland, Neil Ryan from Walter.
Hello everybody, and congratulations to Xperi and DTS AutoStage on their 5th birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to keep it really short, but I would like to keep this, just set the stage, so to speak, about what we do. So we launched this in 2020 as a hybrid radio or connected radio, may heard the term, or augmented radio platform. So I'm just going to define it for everybody so we know what it is. It is really a definition that's anchored in the realities of the present with an eye to the future. So why the focus on the native broadcast radio speed? We all know that's where most of the radio consumption takes place in cars. So it's really important for us to keep that from the center. But really it's about two things. Enhancing the native broadcast radio experience via IP delivered metadata, and that creates a lot of things. And then providing FM and DAB analytics to radio stations. We've been doing that for years. We're excited to have a very spirited conversation in this panel about how they do it. But this slide is on purpose meant because as you look at the landscape of the automotive industry, you see a lot of stuff going on. You have legacy OEMs, you have TV first OEMs, you have dozens or so of tier ones who are doing everything about infotainment in the car. And, there are different approaches, apps, no apps, curated apps. So everything is a mess. So really the radio speed across the board is the only strategic advantage that radio has. And because of our anniversary, I just want to give you some background. Launched in 2020, we are now in 14 million vehicles with a broadcast first approach. You can see some of them last year. Again, it's a pure hybrid implementation. We don't have apps, just about the radio speed. In terms of scale, we do invest a lot in this infrastructure. So just to give you an idea, we're handling more than 20 million API calls a month that allow us to pretty much monitor what's going on and serve the radio metadata as needed. And we have observed almost 500 million hours listening on our platform across 150 plus countries. And all of this is a grand cost of $0 or euros, whatever your currency of choice, to the broadcasters. Because we're all about making this an inclusive, open participation, right? So in terms of the innovation that we've pioneered in this industry, we've licensed lyrics for the first time, and we basically play them on broadcast radio. This is the crux of this panel. We're talking about real-world stats from FM, DAB, and car listening. We'll go over that in a minute. It's about broadcaster control. Anybody can sign up from anywhere, as big or as small as you are. We have pioneered the first in-car receiver anyway, so you can actually see what data shows up in the car. Anybody can do that from their account. And we can help you if you don't have licensed metadata. We can actually provide it to you for free for your cost, right? And of course, this is at the global scale. And I'm just going to play a quick video as we're going over this on the enhancement of the user experience. You can see for yourselves what that looks like, different models, and why I don't have the brazen arrogance to call this perfect in-car radio because I don't think that exists. We are talking about a very good radio interface across the board with the technology that exists now across all the different screens and shapes and sizes that allow the radio really to shine and really and compete well in the car. So with that, I'm just going to finish on a note, right? We brought the democratization of big data to any radio station, whether you are a small radio station in the Faroe Islands, whether you are a station from the second largest Korean city, whether you are from the coast of Australia and the New South Wales, and of course, just to give a hat tip to our host here, this is also, I'm excited because this is from an FM market. This is a rental car by the DTS AutoStage. Look how amazing it looks. And this is, of course, the Riga heat maps. And with that, I am going to ask us to move to the middle to have the conversation and start with a question. And I'm going to put this up. We move to the middle. Sorry, everyone, for this. There you go. Thank you. Fantastic.
Surprisingly heavy.
Taking the initiative here. All right, thank you all. So I'm going to start with a very easy question. How important is the car? How important is broadcast radio in the car for you as organizations?
May I start?
Yes, please.
Okay. So in Hungary, population is about 10 million people, and 7.5 million of them still listen to radio on a weekly basis. And 50% of them are in-car listeners. So that huge number. So car is one of the key environment for our station. And at the same time we see how in-car dashboards are changing in last few years, and that digital interfaces become more dominant. And so yes, it's really important for our organization.
And we also expect it to be increasingly important. It still is a part of radio usage today, but when you look at the changing environment and the digital options you have in the car, radio seems to be very resilient. If you look at recent infinite dial data, for instance, from the US, where it shows that even younger target groups with a lot of digital options tend to listen to radio in the car. Probably in the future, the car will be even more important for radio as a distribution channel, while listening at home slightly decreases, maybe at work as well. So radio in the car is probably the most important place for listening occasions in the future. And therefore, it's really important to get a grip on distribution in cars. And obviously, what we're talking about today, also a lot of feedback and additional data.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I'm happy to come in there. I'm Neil O'Brien. I'm from Fáilte DAB. We're a trial DAB plus service in Ireland at the moment. We're achieving about 50% population coverage, and next month we're increasing to 85% population coverage. We're a small company, but as a result of that, we're agile and can change. And we have a background in radio links and broadcasting infrastructure. Just in terms of, we'd like to thank everybody here, particularly everybody who's worked on things like hybrid radios over the years, because in launching our DAB plus network, we really benefited from the fact that the hybrid radios are out there, and through DTS AutoStage we were able to access some real life data in relation to this. Because by their nature, regulators want evidence-based decision making. And when they can receive this information in real time and see the growth over a period of time, it's really, really important. One of the other things we like about hybrid radio is that transparent findability. So, you know, the user has very little to do. You launch a DAB multiplex and suddenly all these additional services start to appear, and people then say, what are these? And they access them. In some cases, they don't even know who Fáilte DAB is or where the signal comes from, but it appears on the screen and it's something they're going to try out and listen to, and then we get the metrics back in relation to that. The other things that are important, probably from a regulatory point of view and also from our own point of view, is the prioritization. So we now have national iris services available on that radio screen. There's also the prioritization in relation to DAB+. So if you have a service that's simulcasting both on FM and DAB+, the priority will be given to DAB+. So that becomes the first choice in terms of audience listening. And that's really beneficial. But the real thing for us at the moment is that the metrics are real. The metrics aren't based on recall. The metrics are more or less instantaneous. And they greatly assist our decision making and also lead to decisions that are evidence-based.
Thanks so much for sharing all that. You covered a lot of ground here. Ben, would you like to add anything to this?
We know for a long time the car is an important place for the radio listening, and that metrics confirm that. In Belgium, the last declarative survey tells us that people listening to the RTBF radio an average time of 2 hours and I think 10 minutes a day.
Right.
That metrics confirm that almost half of it is in the car. So
that's important, right?
it is for focus.
Well, I mean, it's clear to me that everybody, and of course, I invited you here for a reason, but I just want to go back a little bit to what you do actually during your day job, because I think it's a very interesting, from this point of view, panel of different experts in different fields, right? So, how do you make decisions in an organization? And if you feel free to just say what you do for because I didn't cover that much. Christian or Tamar?
What I do is basically overseeing digital, so we're trying to base as many decisions as possible on data. So the more data, the better. That's, I mean, sometimes it can also lead to analysis paralysis, but basically we like to base decisions on data. Yeah, and there are some, let's say, places or rooms or distribution channels where we previously didn't get so much data.
Right.
So every additional data point is very valuable, and I mean, we will probably start this discussion about this feedback, and all additional data points give you some feedback about your content, about your distribution, and then you can deal with it. What you don't measure, what you don't see, you cannot manage, and therefore any additional data point is very useful.
So maybe I'll tie this into what we see here in the background. So this is data that we actually don't normally disclose to the individual broadcaster, but this is market data over a period of 30 days that shows the average daily in-car listening time. And I've asked the panel, and you can add this to your, how do you make decisions? How do you react to this based on what you know about the data that you have already access to?
So in Hungary, we have 3 months average audience data, about 3 months or over 3 months period. We see daily reach it, but just about average Monday, Tuesday, and so on. So not about the specific days.
Right.
And I'm a music and program director at one commercial radio station in Hungary, one of the most powerful radio brand in Hungary. But on the smaller, medium-sized market, because we are operating just in Central Europe, it would be great, in Central Hungary. Of course, we use to make decision call-outs for music tests, AMTs, brand focus studies, and these are all estimates and models.
Right.
And as a program director, one of my biggest challenges that I rarely receive concrete, immediate feedback on my daily decisions. And because radio works with slow feedback, as we all know that. And DTS helps us with these data because roughly 24 hours later we can see how our listeners reacted to our program, how our listeners, in-car listeners, reacted to our program. But they are huge numbers in-car listeners in Hungary, as I said before. And we have variety of data from DTS as a heat map functionality, which is really great.
Would I go to this one?
That's our coverage. And when I first saw this data, when we connected our station to the DTS platform 3 or 4 years ago, I felt like I just won the lottery, because I have never seen something like this before. We had estimated coverage map about our coverage, but these are exact data. So we see where our listeners exactly are, and that's really powerful. And not just for my job, which is to deal with programs and music and so on, but it adds a new layer of intelligence to our sales team also, because it gives them something really powerful, concrete geographic data. And it allows them to approach clients with more confidence and stronger arguments. And it turns conversation from assumptions to evidence. So when I saw first time the TSL, time spent listening numbers from in-car listeners, I was really surprised, because in normal official researches, we usually see much higher numbers, for example, 2 hours or more. And 65 minutes is just half of that. So it changes a lot about our works, and it gives us real behavioral data about one specific audience segment, specific premium audience segment, people driving the newer cars. And that's extremely important for us.
Thank you so much, Laura. Who wants to go next? Ben?
Okay. So the question how we use the data to make our strategic choices, it's really pain point already, because we now receive a lot of data from different platforms, different aggregators.
Right.
And we do not have the habits or
Right.
skills to analyze correctly. And we are stuck, and not only RTBF actually, for all the radio world, we are stuck on phone or on Instagram, the declarative survey,
Right.
because it's easy to rely on this.
Right.
The new data shows new things, and we really should learn.
And I do have some screenshots of your own stations here, and we can go and maybe show this, which is, to me, was fascinating to see that you have listeners in Luxembourg, and that's just my ignorance, but it's interesting because obviously you educated me on the French-speaking population.
But what explains this is Belgium go to work in Luxembourg,
Yeah.
fiscal reason.
Right.
And you can see that on the map.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like this that the new data
Right.
is telling us.
That's really interesting. Neil, do you want to weigh in on this before I ask you the really cool question?
Okay, well look, I suppose in June 45 years ago I became an accidental DJ, and my love of radio actually just grew and developed from that. So I then went off and did an engineering qualification, but now I'm a reconditioned engineer. I've moved out of I'm actually probably back doing engineering again, but I worked across telecommunications, broadcast distribution, and also the regulatory space. And now I'm retired, and I'm doing the kind of work that I enjoy doing. And this DAB Plus trial is something that I've wanted to be involved in for quite some time, so I'm enjoying my time post-retirement doing that. Just in terms of I know there's percentages can blindside people, but just in terms of maybe some just for usefulness is that, the Irish Audio Report for 2025 showed that across audio consumed yesterday, live radio accounted for 74% of it, music streaming was about 13.5%, and podcasting was 3.5%. In terms of people, 67% of people use radio on a daily basis. In terms of where audio is consumed, 67% is at home, 50% and increasing is in the car, and about 12% at work. So that's the statistics. If you want to, I'll email them to you later if anybody needs a shortened version of them.
And I do want to point something out. We did write a really cool story about the trials it's a bad thing. The DAB trial in Ireland, and we have an article there that we published. If you're interested in that subject, the DAB trials in the trial in Ireland, you can pick it up and see what, and maybe do a deeper dive. And I know, and part of the reason why I like this panel is because we have, somebody who works in infrastructure. We have a station in the market with no DAB, and of course a public broadcaster and big commercial. So I do want to move to the next question that was probably you're going to go there anyway, Neil, but I do want to ask what's your favorite part or some of the insight that you got out of DTS AutoStage over the years, or I know that we've been working with you just recently, but
Look, we started this trial 12 months ago. Our license runs out at midnight tonight. A new license is cutting in, and our population increase to 85% is about 2 to 3 weeks away. The main thing that helped us in that was the in-car insights. We saw it demonstrated growth. So we went from kind of 20% of people listening to DAB to 30%. We also, in terms of the new services that were being carried on the multiplex, in DAB listenership, that also increased from 20% to 30%. The figures that have kind of been shown, given that we only have 50% population, we're being actually measured across 100% of the availability in the area. So we know that when we get to the 85 population coverage, we expect to be kind of in the 40 plus to 50% kind of DAB thing. And we'll get the reassurance from DTS.
Yeah, it looks great. And if I just may point out one piece, we obviously shared a lot of this data in November, but the number actually went up, and I think Jackie should pay me for proselytizing the DAB here. But I think it's great. No, this is a good confirmation. And this is why we went into this as a platform, as a technology company who's been involved in the radio business for 20 plus years in North America, that we've expanded globally now. And I think this is really cool. This is something that a lot of people have given us positive feedback. So I want to go to you, Christian, now. So what is your favorite part about AutoStage?
Well, initially it was the heat map, because it really adds this visualization of your listeners and your coverage area.
Yeah.
I think the good thing about these measurement services is that you add this more granular view of your audience data. When you have the typical ranking systems, you get a basic rating saying you have X amount of listeners and your coverage area is Berlin, for instance, and then you dive into it and see much more granular view of it. So you see it's certain parts of Berlin, it stretches out to certain areas. You're often surprised by some areas that you didn't connect to your core area as well. Right. So this, I think, it was the first insights I gained. But I would also like to emphasize another point, another level of granularity, is that you see seasonality for the first time. So for instance, if you have 200,000 listeners per unit, per day, per week, whatever, it doesn't say something, it's an average. Right. And you don't see the distribution during the week, for instance. And I think this is really valuable for programming, but also for other parts of the radio business, that you see seasonality throughout the year, throughout the month, and even on a daily or even hourly perspective.
You and I talked about this because we're trying to figure out what happened here on March 5th.
We were debating that, and we look at this data constantly, and I mean, in some rating systems you see these findings, but I still find it quite astonishing to see that certain days are much more used than others. For instance, that the Monday is much stronger than a Thursday, for instance, and usually declines throughout the week. But you also see some events that are either showing an uptick or a downward trend, and then you can investigate what caused this. Our best guess here is that was a bit of a long weekend in Berlin, so you see the Thursday and Friday slightly below average, and at the same time you see some days with an uptick, and we discussed that also. There was a strike in Berlin where public transportation was on strike, and you saw an increased usage in cars on that day. So this is all data you didn't get earlier, and the more granular you can dive into this data, the more valuable it is, and especially the seasonality throughout certain time periods, I think it's very valuable.
Thanks for sharing that, Christian. I know, and I know you've spoken globally about the heat maps, but I do want to go back to your station a little bit, Schlager, because you did share with me that you find this, and I put this in a GIF animation about, this is your daily, well, hourly by day for a week of 9th through the 16th to the 15th of March. And you share with me some interesting insights.
Yeah, one of the most interesting, surprising part of DTS data was that I experienced the reality check about our program sometimes. And one of the saddest things which we discovered through DTS data that our station performs better at 4 p.m. than in the morning, which I know what you think about that. But it's extremely important to see these kind of data because it sometimes challenges our long-standing assumptions. Because we have never got these data from traditional researchers. We never saw something like that our station is better at 4 p.m. than in the morning, of course. And yes, heat map is also one of my favorite part, and also music charts, because that's also one of my favorite thing in the radio, from the commercial radio sites, and where I can analyze on a weekly basis how our listeners reacted to our most listened songs. Do they continue listening, or do they switch away earlier? Yeah, these are our most listened songs.
A lot of Taylor Swift, I see.
Yeah, I'm proud of
Who
them.
chooses that?
Our audience, of course, through call-outs and AMTs. And so all this kind of data just helps us to become better and adds a new layer of intelligence to our work.
That's great, thank you. And I want to go to because I have a little game for Ben here. And I know I was going to keep it a surprise, but I don't want to surprise him, so he knows about it. But let's play this game. So can you tell us briefly, RTBF, Classic 21, TP, what is the music genre? What are we talking about here? Rock, right?
Classic 21 is a workstation, classic workstation, and TP is a radio.
What is it?
It's radio for...
Oh, hits radio, okay. I'm more of a rock guy. I don't know what the panelists feel like listening to, but I do want to do I'm dating myself here, but remember the old days of Run DMC versus Aerosmith? I was going to do that, but let's play a game. Which one? I was going to ask Ben. Which station of the two thinks it has more sessions on a given 30-day period? And you told me what?
To give you an obvious answer, Classic 21 is our number one station on our networks. Typic, let's stay a gentleman and say that it's kind of work in progress. There's a lot of progress to do. They clearly aren't on the same level.
So here's what we found. So if you look, this is the number of, hundreds of sessions. I'm trying to keep the European decimal system here. So 295,175 sessions for still the number one, but it's almost the same, right?
That's surprising.
That was a surprise.
And we have to change our mindset about the data. And this should be really important wet warning on what we are doing with those radios. That tells an important story.
Right.
Listeners of Classic 21 aren't commuting anymore.
that's interesting insight.
Getting older,
Right.
and so they will move out of the target market.
Right.
We will have serious problem in coming years. And
This confirms that gut feeling of yours, right?
we should learn to learn.
Yeah. That's great. And I want to move to, because I know we're running short on time, but I do have two more questions of the panel. One is a future-looking question. If you had your wish fulfilled, what would be a feature of DTS AutoStage you'd like to see in the future based on what you've seen so far and used so far? I want to start with you, Christian.
Yeah, given my love for heat maps, I think it would be useful to have dynamic heat maps. As of now, they are quite static. I mean, they provide a lot of insights, but they are static. And if you combine these two dimensions in terms of usage and locality or geographical distribution, I think it would be really helpful to see the dynamics of your listening, the dynamics of your geographical distribution represented in a heat map.
That's great, thank you. Neil, what do you think?
I suppose it's different to
Yeah, it's different.
radio operators in
Yeah.
that we're a platform. So I think more access to kind of platform information
Yeah.
across the multiplex, not in the specifics of hours listened or time of days that people are tuning in, but just a kind of a gradual feel for it. Because, it's not all about audience share, because some channels are absolutely niche and are serving that particular audience, but it's just to get an overall feel for how things are going. Because in relation to our MUX2 that's launching in the next 2 weeks, we went out and did an expression of interest phase and just didn't go with the previous ones. We've actually mixed and matched a bit and involved more services to come in. So I think ongoing data in relation to how the platform is operating would be useful to us.
That's fantastic. How about you, Tamara? What do you think?
So I would say two things. One is it would be great to see more demographic data about our listeners,
Yeah.
for first. And the second one, because we have all these gorgeous data about our music playlist,
Yeah.
it would be so great to see how our listeners reacted to our commercial breaks.
Yeah, no, and this is something that's exciting because we are, announcing new features all the time, and I do want to say that it's not a secret, it's already public information that in the United States we're rolling out a new set of features because we have a larger market there, and I invite you, I know it's far, but if you want to go to the NAB this year, there's going to be some cool stuff presented there. So that's that, but I do want to, we could probably spend another session just talking about the private or the demographics data, right? And I do want to share with you that the OEMs control what we can see, because there's a lot of information that's, obviously you have to be GDPR compliant, you have to, respect the privacy of the users and so on and so forth, so there's only so much we can glance out of it. But I think you, Christian, had an interesting viewpoint on that, about what kind of data maybe.
I mean, it's definitely restricted by privacy issues, but I think it wouldn't necessarily mean including personal data. It would mean certain age groups, for instance, or the basic attribution of the audience you could use. That is usually sex, age groups, and apparently zip or locale. I think that would be sufficient, and also in compliance with data regulations and privacy. I know it's not easy to get this kind of data, but it would add the, let's say, missing dimension to the already existing granular. Yeah, but also for targeting in terms of content optimization and other things. It does make a difference if you're targeting certain age groups. It's the obvious hole here, but I know it's not easy to implement.
Thanks, that's great. Ben, what would you like to add?
I have a lot of views about data. What's really interesting on your data that it's all talking about real consumption.
Yep.
Not depending on the technology.
Right.
Start and stop, it's a real listening time.
Right.
And if it switch from FM
granularity of the listening behaviors.
Do they push up the volume
Right.
on one specific song?
Right.
Or down?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
When do they stop listening?
Or did they switch to a station or turn the radio off? Right?
Everything.
Yeah.
Some average
Yeah.
compartment, because when you are
Yeah.
at work, getting silent,
Right.
Just,
Yeah.
that's it. If when you play a certain song, everyone is quitting,
Yeah.
maybe they should react. Where are they switching?
Yeah.
Something like news brief
Right.
on a musical station.
Yeah.
These people stay,
Yeah.
they leave,
Yeah.
they leave for which station?
Yeah.
That's something we like to know.
That's great. And I know we're running out of time. We did start a little bit late, so I apologize if we're going over a little bit. But I do want to end in reverse order with some parting thoughts from the panel. What would you like to say, Neil, from Ireland?
Well, thank you very much for your time today. I'm not going to eat any more of your lunchtime. Just to say that I'll be leaving this evening or tomorrow morning because I have a 640-metre hill waiting for me to put some antennas up on tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in the morning. So that's my priority for tomorrow morning.
Cool. All right, let's go to Ben. What are some of the things you want to share with the audience, like parting thoughts about this or anything?
Maybe a book recommendation.
Yeah.
We all face the data mindset
Yeah.
challenge. And I recommend the video digital transformation playbook available on Amazon.
Yeah.
That's a book
It's
everyone
a must read.
should read.
That's great, and I appreciate your feedback there. Christian, what were the parting thoughts about?
Yes, I would definitely say make in-car integration a strategic priority.
Right.
It's really important to be in the car, especially on the long run, and to really represent it there both visually and with your audio in the best possible way. So really make it important within your organization, dedicate certain people really to care about the in-car integration and really make this a strategic priority. It's so important that we keep and maintain this position in car in the future, and this is exactly the leverage and the way we can ensure that.
Fantastic. Tamara?
I would say my 3 takeaways
Okay.
from this session. So the first one is that this platform is for free, totally free for us broadcasters, and super easy to connect. The second one, our stations looks dramatically better in cars with DTS AutoStage, and finally, instead of boring RDS data, we have dynamic content, album artwork, editable metadata, and so on. And the third one, the most important from programming side, all kind of these data you can have whenever you want. You just have to decide and connect your station to this platform, and you don't even have to negotiate with your fellow broadcaster. You can go whenever you want to connect your platform to the DTS.
Thank you so much, Tamara. And it is really easy. You can scan this to connect, or you can visit us on the stand. We also have a card outside. But thank you so much. Köszönöm szépen, Tamara. Dankeschön, Christian. Merci beaucoup. And I don't know how to say it in Irish Gaelic, but thank you so much, Neil, for participating. Let's give a round of applause to everybody here. And thank you so much.
Thank you, George. So it's time for lunch, and Latvian food is ready and waiting for you. So maybe 3,000 options of potatoes are waiting for you. So please check out Latvian Listening Circle and the Youth Fund. So you can meet some young people who are here to let you know what a youth audience wants and how we can encourage young people to work in our lovely industry. So grab a bite and chat over lunch, and see you back at the 1 p.m. So from 1 till 2 there is a lunch, and we are having session number 4 from 2 p.m.
Who's Elvis fan? Which one? Campbell.